Nothing happened.
Sure.
Yeah, press main 1 and it didn't happen. Maybe start? No.
Oh, sure.
Main 1. Are you sure it's on the right one? That's weird. Main 2 worked. Hello everybody out there in TV land. You can probably hear me right now. Give us a moment while we work out technical difficulties, technical anomalies, while we work on main 1. There we go. Looks like Senpai's got it solved. We surely do hope your evening's going wonderful on this Monday. There we go. Awesome. All right. Hey, Senpai, if you want to tilt that camera down a little bit, the main one. I would say just a little bit down. And a little more. And looks good. Perfect, bro. Awesome. All right. Hey, everybody out there in TV land. Hope your evening's going great. We have a bunch of different kits in front of us. Figured we start off the stream talking about what exactly is sitting in front of us. If you're watching on Instagram land, we surely do hope if you have any questions, Senpai should be there. Maybe able to read them off. And if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. Once again, my name's Eddie here at Flynn's Arcade and more in Margate, Florida. Joined with me is my colleague. What's your name?
Ben, a.k.a. Uber's Cosplay.
I was thinking of something witty to say, but my my colleague, my my partner in crime, Uber's Cosplay, a.k.a. Ben. If you haven't followed him on Instagram, they can find you on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on
Facebook,
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, pretty much everything.
Twitter.
Yeah, that too, as Uber's Cosplay.
Uber's Cosplay, UBERS Cosplay.
Yep.
And of course, if you're at any of the local conventions, you've probably seen him before in his life, human size.
Yeah, 1/12 scale giant robot costume.
There you go, 1/12 scale giant robot costume. So, really appreciate you guys tuning in. We have every Thursday night at Flynn's, we have a build and paint night. We all come together, we build together, paint together, nerd out together. I love to see that our group is getting bigger and bigger each week. We have a bunch of cool things to talk about this evening, from new supplies to tools to kits. But we're going to lead the show with the upcoming build contest so that we can get these lovely prizes that are in front of me out of our view.
Yeah.
So, Ben, why don't you lead the charge and let them know the dealio of what's going down, not this Thursday, but next Thursday.
Right.
And everything going down.
So in the past, we'd run a few Gundam contests. We're doing another version of that. This one is more targeted towards people that do maybe the smaller kits, because this is limited to the 1/144 scale kits, which are primarily the high grade and the real grade kits. But it's open to any Gundam kit in that scale. Prizes are being donated by the Gundam Place.
We can go to scene main 2. So if you're looking for a new kit, let's see, show them where it's going to mark on the kit, the 1/144 scale or the emblem. So some people may not know exactly what it is. We're going to show you here, guys. If you're looking to get into this build contest, this is kind of what you're looking for.
You want to look for something with the high grade logo on it. High grade is basically like the mainline Gundam kits, and these are all 1/144 scale. It'll also say down here on the description of the kit itself what the scale is. Anything that's 1/144 will be able to be entered in this contest. So primarily the high grades and the real grade lines will be open to be entered into this.
So guys, we have this scale for this particular build contest. What other specifics do they need to know?
If you check the Facebook group I made and everything for it, as well as the Discord, it has all the rules and everything you need to know.
Yep.
Primary things to go over is this is for new builds only. You cannot enter a build that you built like a few years in the past or for a different contest or anything like that. It has to be a new build. How we're going to verify that is you take a photo of the kit before you have built it.
Like this.
Yeah, like
the
this,
runners.
with a timestamp on the photo or something along those lines, and have that photo when you're here submitting the kit. I would also recommend that for the ease of judging, take photos while you're building your kit, like to show your progress. It just makes it a lot easier to do the judging and everything like that. You're not limited to like any kind of theme or series or anything like that.
Right.
It just has to be a Gundam model kit.
Right.
You can do a diorama, you can heavily modify it, you can do straight build. pretty much anything you want. But there's only 3 awards. We're just doing first, second, third place. Pretty explanatory. And if you're interested in how we're doing the judging criteria, check the Facebook group and everything I made, or the Discord, and it tells the exact categories we're looking at, what we're looking for in the kits, and how we're judging them. It's basically 4 categories on a scale of 1 to 10,
right?
And whoever scores the highest is going to be first place, and then second place and third place. Because I wanted to be very clear, if you've never been in a contest before, like what areas you did really well in, and what areas you might want to work on in the future.
So are we going to give them back? Should we give them the sheet?
I'm going to give everyone feedback as to like their build, like what areas we really liked, what areas they might want to focus on in the future, because it's not just about fun too. It's also going to be like a good learning experience for people and how you can improve your craft and everything like that.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
So we're going to have, guys, that's going down, like Ben alluded to and mentioned. So next Thursday, the 24th, I believe it is.
Yeah, next Thursday is when we're doing the submissions.
So you have to bring it in real life.
Yeah, you have to come in here in person. We're not doing like online submissions or anything like that. It's just, it's too difficult to manage, and it's too difficult to verify people's work. So come in person, and what you're going to do is we're going to do a quick little video of you talking about your kit. You're going to submit it here. Tell me about it. I'll look at your photos and everything like that. And then we're going to have a display case set over here that you're going to put the kit in, and everyone's going to get the chance. Sorry about that.
So everyone's going to get a chance, guys, to talk about their kit. Of course, we're going to shamelessly put this on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. So it's just going to be super brief questions. Next Thursday, Build and Paint Night usually starts around 8 o'clock. So I'd say probably around 8.
Yeah.
Is when we'll get started.
Yeah, but the idea of the video too is it gives you a chance to talk about your kit, like what went into your thought process for the build.
Oh, like your rationale behind it.
Yeah, and like
Love
maybe highlight some parts of it you really liked. And if you have your own social media where you show off your builds and stuff like that, it's a chance for you to signal boost that as well.
Of course, yeah, we'll tag you, and we can also share it with you so you can, share it wherever you want.
Yeah. And the other good thing about having it in the display case is a lot of times in the past when we did contests, you pretty much only got to show off the kits for that day. Here, you're going to keep the kits in the case for a week, and then the following Thursday, the last day of the month, is when we announce the winners. And then, so everyone's got their stuff on display for a week. People that come in here in the arcade can get a chance to see your guys' work up close and in person.
100%. And then also, guys, if you do want to submit, remember that it is limited to one submission, or they're going to do limited one submission.
One submission per person, but what you can do is if you want to work on something as a group, like maybe you and a significant other, a father-daughter type of situation, you can do that, but you're still only eligible for one prize. So you can't win like first and third. It's just one prize per group.
Okay, perfect.
Okay? And for those who are more for the master grade kits, I do want to do a contest for that as well, but we're doing this one first. But this isn't going to be the last contest we do, so keep your eyes on our social media and stuff
so
like
with
that.
our guys, with the rules of engagement, if you will, the rules of the land, like Ben said, it's in our Facebook event page, it's on Discord. I created a meetup event for that as well. There's a link in our Instagram bio if you watch that. I've talked about it on TikTok as well. And since it's our build and paint night, I've asked Victoria to come in that night as well. On the 24th, Victoria does the mini painting and things like that. I figured it'd be a good opportunity if people did want to ask more questions about the technical side of painting. She predominantly paints like minis for Warhammer and D&D, but those are translatable skills.
There's a lot of crossover.
A lot of crossover, and tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of the tools and accessories and paints and everything we got here at Flynn's, and pens that you can take advantage of, because I know out in the wild it can be very difficult to try to find some of this stuff, and Ben's doing a phenomenal job in making sure that we're well stocked, and we are doing our best to, as you see each week you come in, you're going to see things change and grow here at Flynn's, where we add a new display or we add new new verbiage or video examples, just so that we can welcome more people into the hobby. We do have a very large order coming in on the 16th.
Yeah, all the stuff that's been stuck on that dang ship.
Exactly. So it's very interesting that there's a lot coming in, but I don't want to get ahead of myself because we will mention that. But I did want to give a huge shout out to who has been a huge sponsor of our build contest and who has been supportive, honestly, since the beginning for our Gundam here at Flynn's. And I'll let you tell them about. I'll let you tell them about them.
Yeah,
then.
give me one of their
Yeah, for
stickers.
sure, right here. Bam. We're gonna zoom in here in camera 2.
So yeah, big shout out to Jamie at the Gundam Place for helping us out with this contest by sponsoring us with prizes and stickers and everything for everybody. He was also the sponsor behind our first Gundam contest, and he's reaching out to help us out again here with this contest as well. The Gundam Place is a store that's based in Alpharetta, Georgia, but they're primarily an online seller. So if you guys are looking for something, check them out. He sells a lot of customized parts on his site as well, like things like LEDs, tools, resin kits, third-party stuff that's very, very difficult to find. And he's also an accomplished builder himself. He's not just a seller. He actually got into the hobby and selling and stuff through a trip to Japan, and he got really into building the model kits and stuff like that. So check out his Instagram as well. It's all linked through the Gundam Place website, and you can see some of his work. But yeah. Very thankful for him for helping us out here. Totally.
I mean, the fact that he took the time to do it, and he donated graciously pretty much the whole Battle Log series.
Yeah.
Is up here. We have the Iron Blood Orphans kit. I believe this was a kit left behind by, I think Blandish might have left it behind for someone that never came to pick it up. So it's been added to our prizes as well. I know we still have a few extra prizes coming in also. And we're waiting for those to come in. And I'm just super stoked to see all the builders. And I'm super thankful that Ben took the time to organize this. And we'll be able to also give you, like you said, feedback on your kit building, which is going to be like super dope.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. I'm really interested because I've been watching a few people online, what they're working on. And we're going to have some really impressive stuff, I think. And we have some people that are still fairly new to the hobby that are really pushing the limits of what they know how to do to impress for this one. So that's what I like to see.
Totally.
I like to see people pushing themselves to the limit.
Exactly. So you guys come out not this Thursday, the following Thursday, the 24th, I believe it is. That is your submission date, and then judging will be the Saturday or the Thursday thereafter here at Flynn's Arcade in Margate, Florida, probably right around 8 o'clock. So that's everything we have going on with the Gundam Build Contest. Ben, is there anything else you want to mention with this before we move on, or no?
I think that pretty much covers it for the contest. Anyone who's working on their submission, we do have tools here. If you're missing anything, stop on by. We have paints, we have markers, we have sanding blocks, we have all kinds of stuff. You know, if you need the last few bits to finish up your work, this is the place to go.
Awesome. All right, so what else we got on the docket?
All right, if you want to go ahead and switch to the
For sure, camera 2. Bam.
I wanted to highlight this. This is a little bit of an older kit that I have broken out of storage and started cleaning up for a couple reasons. Varun here was running like a Gundam RPG game, and my character is actually piloting a suit like this.
Okay.
This is an MS-09 Dom from the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, 1979. The Dom is one of Zeon's primary mobile suits in the story. It's kind of like the backbone of Zeon's army. It's primarily a ground attack mobile suit. Like you see these giant skirting armors on the legs and the waist. It was ground attack, so what these were like hover jets. So it wouldn't walk across the ground, it would hover at high speed like a hovercraft.
Okay.
So that's why it has this kind of very bulbous, large look. And same thing with the weapons. It has very heavy weapons because it's not walking around. It can carry all this stuff because it can hover at high speed. This is actually a somewhat older kit. This is a master grade from the year 2000. And this specifically is the Rick Dom. The Rick Dom is a Dom that was modified for space use. That's used later on in the show. But I brought this one in because there's actually a revised version of this suit coming out in master grade. I've talked about in the past how they've gone back to old kits and revised them and done like versions 2.0.
Right.
And the original Gundam, they actually had like, I think 5 different versions up until like the 3.0. They're not marketing this new kit as a 2.0 or even like a 1.5. It's just the old kit with a few extra runners in it that they've done, like you're familiar with the P Bandai website?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
P Bandai is where they'll sell like very niche model kits. There's been a few releases in the past few years of like variants of the Dom. There was the Blvd, which is a suit that shows up very briefly in Double Zeta Gundam, but it's basically a desert-used version of the Dom.
So the color scheme is different?
The color scheme is different, and a few parts were added, but seeing as how this was a recent kit, they took the time to make a few modifications to the old molds to bring it up to more of a modern standard. Primarily, what you'll see that's going to be different on the new kit is the shoulders are going to be molded as a single piece. I don't know if you can see it.
I can see it like a little tiny seam.
There's a tiny seam line on this that I've actually cleaned up, but this is normally molded as two separate pieces.
Whoa, yeah, you cleaned up really well.
Yeah, the new model kit, it's going to be a single part, so that's some time saving there. The entire forearm is redesigned to be a little bit slimmer and a little more accurate to the animation. And the hands are actually changed to a different style as well. They're smaller and they're more in line with like the 2.0 Zaku model kits. One of the other changes they make is because of that Dom hover locomotion that it has, it always has this very distinctive crouched pose because it lowers itself to get low to the ground and then it flies along at high speed. This kit could not exactly crouch terribly well because of the size of the legs. So the new kit has changed designs in the ankle area that allow it to bend further, as well as a swing joint on the hip to allow it to bend down further. But in terms of like the look of the kit, it's pretty much identical to this. And this is an older kit, and you see how it's got the very kind of a lot of flat open space.
Yeah.
But that's accurate to the animation. It was always, that's how it looked in the animation. They didn't try to up the detail or anything like that. And even though this specifically is an older kit from 2000, at the time this was considered a very premium kit. Like this is actually a very well detailed model. And there are a few bits in it that seem kind of primitive now, but that are kind of precursors to where these model kits were going to go. You can see even on the large weapon, there's a small little tab that comes out to help lock it into the hand. At this time when these model kits were coming out, a lot of the weapons would just be held in the hand freely.
Yeah, like loose.
Yeah, on modern master grades, they pretty much all have like tabs that fold out and lock into that. So this is kind of the precursor to that. And something that really impressed me about this kit when I first got it, and I got this probably not long after its release, were these fully movable fingers.
Oh, all of them move?
All of them fully move, and they're fully jointed. That was something that was really unheard of back then. Like the only kits that had fully movable fingers like that were the perfect grades.
Yeah.
The much bigger kits. On modern master grades, stuff like this is kind of taken for granted. No one bats really an eye at the movable fingers. Like just about any kit can do this nowadays, but they've kind of gone back on that, and a lot of them nowadays use the peg hands because it's more secure. But I've always been a fan of fully movable fingers.
Yeah, or like the bottom three will be fixed together.
The bottom three will be fixed together. Maybe the trigger finger will move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see that here too. Is just like this is not secured in his hand in any way. This machine gun, but the blocky, tough hand is actually able to hold it very, very well.
And when was this kit released?
This one was originally in the year 2000, so
Whoa.
This is a 22-year-old kit now. But I think it holds up very, very well.
Very well.
This is.
And it's very
It's
stiff.
a very nice representation of the Dom. Like I couldn't really think of any way to change this that wouldn't detract from how it looked in the animation.
Is this color, like you didn't do anything to this?
I haven't done anything to this except do heavy, heavy cleanup. It may be hard to tell in the video, but this is pretty much primed and ready for paint at this point. Every surface has been completely sanded down. A lot of seam lines have been hidden, and a lot of joints have been tightened up because of the age of the kit.
What's your trick when it's seam lines? Like I know there's a bunch of tricks of the tray when it comes to seam line color.
That's one of the things we can actually segue into.
Okay, for sure.
Because that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring in this.
And let's like give them an example first of what do you mean by a seam line? Because they may not understand.
I'll go ahead and pop off his shoulders.
Because I know I run into this a lot, especially in the master grades, because there's such a larger kit.
So probably one of the most common things you're going to hear people talk about when it's like they want to improve a kit is cleaning up seam lines. Seam lines are where two parts join together, and you'll be able to see that on this kit in a few different spots. You can see where the top of the forearm connects to the bottom part. You can see this line going across this section.
Yeah.
And that's from where this piece and this piece join together. Now, if this were a real robot, like that would be a single part. There wouldn't be any line there to divide it. So one of the things you can do is you want to hide those seam lines. This is one where I've already hidden it. You can see it a little bit on the camera. There's a line going straight through the middle of the
You can
shoulder
actually
piece.
see it on the side too. Like if you look at it like on the side, that's how I spotted it.
Yeah, you can see there's a line dividing that. Now, you can see it here because I haven't painted it yet, but if you were to run your finger over this, You cannot feel any division there at all. So once I prime and paint this, that'll look invisible as if it was a single part. So the easiest way to do that is by using some model cement. And we actually have this here. There's actually two different kinds we have. We have the regular model cement, and then we have the thinned model cement.
And if I can take a moment, guys, so Ben and I were talking about this today. We have shifted all the Gundam supplies, tools, accessories, and kits to the expansion side.
Yeah.
So just because you don't see it, our snack, drink, and awesome collection has increased up front. That is all shifted to the expansion side. So be sure, if you're around Flynn's, make your way on over. Be more than happy to unlock or show you anything. So anyways, All right. So we have two.
Yeah, and if you want an in-person demonstration of some of this too, feel free to come by for build night. I'm usually here working on something, and I have some of this glue and stuff like that, and you can get an idea for how this stuff works.
So you were saying, you get the glues.
Yeah. So there's two kinds of glues here. You have a cement, and then you have a thinned cement. This cement is more for putting parts together securely and permanently. The thin cement is really good for helping to hide those seam lines. So what this does is it's not just like a glue. This will actually slightly melt the plastic. So when you push two pieces together, like a clamshell, like with this shoulder for instance, that glue will melt a little bit of this plastic, and then when you press them together, a bead of that melted plastic comes to the top. And then once it dries, you can sand it smooth, and then it's not two pieces anymore. Now it's been chemically bonded.
See, I always thought that you would put the pieces together first, then you put the glue on top of it, then you sand that down. But you're saying put a little on the edge first, then merge them together.
Because this on its own is not adhesive. Like if you were to put this on something, it would just melt it a little bit.
Ah,
So
okay. I didn't know that.
The action that makes this work is by pushing two halves together. So by using that cement and on this plastic, you can get that little bit of bead of plastic that means these two parts are welded together now, and you can get a really nice solid connection. And you can see here, I've even done that on like the sphere part of the shoulder joint. This was also two clamshells, but now it's been completely hidden.
It also means you can no longer take it apart.
No, you can no longer take it apart.
So it's permanently there.
This is permanent, but that's what I'm saying with this guy is I've pretty much got it ready for paint. I'm going to paint it up. So all this is going to be, all these little marks and everything I want hidden because I don't want them to show on my final model. Where that's especially important with some of these older kits because the technology was not quite at the level it is now. So a lot of parts were just clamshells of pieces put together. Like a lot of these weapons were just two halves put together to make up a weapon. Like this portion of the bazooka is just one half, and then all these parts sticking out.
Yeah, because that little like scope thing, you kind of fit in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you squeeze them together.
But even on this, you can see how there's a line going through.
Yeah, I see it.
That's all been sanded away with this cement to where when this is painted, it's going to look like a single solid tube.
Dang.
Because, you know, you look at a real rocket launcher or anything like that, you don't see a big ugly seam line going through.
No, because it explodes.
It would explode. Exactly. The pressure would blow it apart. But that's been done all across this kit. And if you're going to build any kind of older model kit, this is a skill you really want to practice because it's going to be the thing that really elevates some of these older model kits.
Now, when they're handling this cement stuff, since it doesn't act as an adhesive, but like obviously some sort of acidic melting, they should.
Not dangerous to your skin.
I was going to say, should they wear gloves?
No, it's not dangerous to your skin. The smell can be a little bit bad, so you want to use it in a ventilated area.
But other than that, you're good.
The only thing you want is you want to be careful with this because if you spill it on your plastic model kit or like maybe something on your table, it will destroy it.
Unless you're going for that effect.
Unless that's what you're going for, which is something you can do. You could dab this on certain areas to make it look like parts had been melted. But yeah, I recommend that if you're first time using these, try it on a cheaper or an older kit so you can get a feel for how it works. The thin cement is very, very watery. The thicker cement for bonding parts permanently is quite a bit thicker, but they're both still easy to make a mess with if you're not familiar with how to use it. So definitely practice a little bit before you try it on your brand new expensive $100 model kit.
And we have them here at Flynn's if you want them.
Yeah, and these are in the locked display case. So if you need these, you got to ask up front.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. So you're excited about this kit coming up, and when is the anticipated release for this kit to be re-released?
This is not coming on this next shipment, but the one after. So I would say probably within a month or two, depending
Okay.
on shipping delays.
Okay.
But yeah, I like the Dom a lot because it's not as iconic as the Zaku, but one of the primary antagonists of the show, and especially the Earth arc, are these pilots called the Black Tri-Stars.
Yeah, I was going to say with the helmet, forgive my ignorance, but with the helmet, it seems like one of those kits I've seen before where there's a lot of them. They're like the grunt of the army, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
and I think Omel has them. They're like brown and green. And
Yeah, there's like desert versions, there's like jungle versions.
But they're
and stuff like
grunts.
that. Yeah, this is a mass-produced suit. So just like the Zaku was just like a standard issue suit, as the Zaku was getting more and more outdated, this was a suit that was designed to supplant and replace the Zaku. It's faster, it's more heavily armed, and it's got thicker armor. Still not as nearly as powerful as like the Gundam, but it's definitely more powerful than say like the standard issue GM of the Earth Federation.
Okay.
And like just as an example, like the machine gun on the Zaku couldn't even dent a Gundam. This bazooka will blow a mobile suit in half with one shot. So definitely a lot more powerful than a Zaku. Other equipment on it that makes it kind of neat is not just the hovering ability. It also has this little lens in the chest that fires a flash of megaparticles that will blind the enemy pilots.
Permanently?
Not permanently.
Oh, okay.
It's like a stun grenade.
That's awesome. All right.
It's like a multi-use stun grenade.
And they have to like recharge this.
They have to recharge it. So in the story, these are piloted by. They are first introduced as piloted by the Black Tri-Stars, which are like 3 Zeon aces on Earth.
Yeah.
That are Gaia, Ortega, and Mash. They do an attack where they attack in a line, like one after the other, and it's a very powerful attack because they're moving so quickly. And when these guys show up, they kind of really cause a lot of damage to the white base and give Amuro a real hard time. But that's when Amuro really starts to awaken into his powers, and he's able to defeat these guys, despite their very powerful, very fast suits. But even after that, the Dom becomes like the backbone of the Zeon forces. Like this becomes like their mainline mobile suit, even in space. Eventually, Zeon starts to lose the war on Earth, and they move into space. So they take the hover engines out of this suit and replace it with rocket engines to operate in space. And it's just as effective in space. It's still heavily armed and very heavily armored as well. A very powerful mobile suit. But yeah, this is the MS-09 Dom, a very iconic mobile suit, and one that I think we have 6 of these master grade, the ones that are updated, on pre-order. So if you like these older suits, if you want to make your own TriStar team, we've got these coming in, and I think I'll be picking one up just to see how it compares to the original kit. But like I said, don't let the older age of some of these kits turn you off. Some of them hold up incredibly well, and the Dom is, I think, probably the best example of an old kit that still really shines despite its age.
And if you're watching this either now or at a later date, the way we do our ordering is slightly unique. Ben is very much in tune with what he believes the community would like. So we order more or less on quantity as opposed to a variety. So there are limited runs of kits or limited amounts of kits that we will bring in. We do not do shipping. We do not hold kits behind the counter. So it's pretty much like the old days where you just had to be there in person to acquire it. Yeah. I'm even thinking about potentially if we get any really, really unique kits, maybe do like, it'd be awesome to do like a midnight release of one kit if we got such a high demand for it. But you just got to come and get it. I do get a lot of messages on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all over the place asking me, do we have this kit? Because our inventory moves so rapidly, I usually refer to, hey, you're just going to have to come into the shop and check it out. So if you get that message and not being rude, I'm simply stating the facts for what they are. And Ben does a really great job at being selective of what we bring in. Yeah. But the fact that you ordered 6 means I believe you feel it's going to be a popular. I mean, I like master grades a lot, so I might not build it, but all these they'll be sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, and this is like I said, a slightly older kit. Even the revised one, this is one you could probably build in 1 or 2 nights.
And I don't see any decals, Ben, though.
There are no decals on this because I'm prepping it for paint. It does come with stickers.
Okay, it does.
I do not know off the top of my head if the master grade will come with decals. I'm going to assume it does not because that is pretty often the decals you have to buy separately.
Okay.
But it'll probably come with stickers.
And once again, guys, if you've never seen this size kit before, what you're looking at is a master grade, right?
Yeah.
So it's a 1 in 100.
This is a 1 in 100 scale. It's about twice the size of a high grade in terms of height. The Dom is obviously bigger than that because it's such a beefy design.
But no more complex. It's not any more difficult, in my opinion, to build.
You don't need the cements. You don't need to do anything crazy with it to build it. It's just if you want to do the extra level of detail to the kit, you got that option to take it a little bit further.
Dude, I'm excited to see what they come up with.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
But I like revisions to these older kits, especially these really weird, iconic 70s designs.
It reminds me of that Bound Dock.
Yeah, some
right?
similar age.
The skirt does a bit, and the legs do a bit.
The Bound Dock had the same ability where it could like hover.
Yeah, because I remember when you built it, like it has
Yeah.
those things underneath it, like the booster rocket, whatever the hover things are.
You can see like the lineage as suits progress. In that same line, we have a lot of these here at the arcade for sale. These are little sanding sponges. So like all those areas where I had hid seam lines on the Dom, you can use these sanding sponges after you've done that to wear down the plastic and get it looking nice and flush and smooth. Where it's also a good thing to do is if you intend to paint your kits, something I tend to do is I'll sand every surface down lightly, even if I don't need to make that surface like completely flush, because when you paint something, you're adding a little bit to it, and especially with these older kits, the clearances can be very, very tight. So if you do not remove some plastic before you paint, you can have some issues. Probably the most common sizes of sandpaper you're going to want to use is 400 grit for doing some heavy removal, and then some 600 for polishing. But for various reasons, you might want to take off a little bit more plastic or polish even shinier. We've got pretty much these in every size and grit you guys could possibly need. We've got tons more of these in varieties coming in. The sponges are probably the easiest to work with because you can curve them to
I know we had the little blocks.
little blocks
as well.
The little ones come in like a variety pack, so you get a little bit of everything. These ones are so you can have them conform to rounded shapes or bend them to fit into smaller areas. Or if you're just doing a straight plane, they're still rigid enough to where you can do a flat area and not have them curve or bend unless you want them to.
So with sandpaper, guys, it goes from the lower the number, so like 400, the grit's going to be pretty gritty.
Yeah.
And then as the number gets bigger, it becomes more and more fine.
Yeah. So the lower the number, the more plastic you're taking off. The higher the number, the shinier and the more polish you're getting.
And these last for a while. So what's the investment? $8?
$8.
This will last you a while.
You get 4 of them in here, and when they start to get full up with dust and stuff, you can brush them off or run them under a sink to get all the particles out of there and use them for quite a long time. These will last you for a while.
I agree.
Like one of these packs will easily last you for a couple master grade worth of kits. So good thing to invest in these sandpapers. Another thing that's good to have, and this is especially important with older kits like the Dom, are model putties. We have a couple different kinds of the model putties here at the arcade. This is probably the most common one, Mr. White Putty. Putty is useful for areas where you need to add a little bit to the suit. Like maybe like the seam lines on some of these older ones were a bit too much and they have like little pock marks you need to remove. White Putty is an acrylic-based putty that you can spread on a part, and then once it dries in about an hour or two, you can sand it off.
Whoa.
And
you just air dries.
Yeah, it just air dries in within about an hour or two. Now there's different kinds of putty. Like this is like the heavier type putty. There's also dissolved putty, which is basically the same putty with some thinner in it, and it's very, very thin. It's really good for hiding seam lines, just like we were showing with the cement. But it's also very useful for adding like mud and stuff to your kit. So you can use this and then paint it brown and stuff like that and have mud and dirt. And
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, should you be handling this with gloves, or is it okay to handle with your hands?
Acrylic putty, you do not want to handle with your fingers. It's not going to necessarily hurt you, but the smell is bad and the chemicals are flammable. And
you might light that cigarette and
so
burst into flames.
You should have some rubber gloves on. Just be aware of it. Work in a ventilated space. I mean, that pretty much goes with any kind of tool you're going to use. Always have a ventilated space. Make sure you wash your hands fully when you're done working.
And if you drop it on the floor, you have small animals or little kids or something like that, make sure to pick it up.
Yeah, don't let kids or animals get a hold of this kind of stuff because it's pretty toxic, But Mr. White Putty, I mean, I use this for cosplay and stuff too to hide details, but I'm constantly buying Mr. White Putty. I think this stuff is great. So Mr. White
Here
Putty,
at Flynn's.
yeah, and you guys are selling these for $5 a tube, which is great. And one of these is like 8 ounces or 25 grams. This will last you for quite a while in terms of model kits.
Dude.
So very useful stuff. When we're talking about tools, the easiest way, and I always tell people to add detail to your kit, is panel lining. For those who are unfamiliar, panel lines are these things on the model, like little indented areas for recessed detail. You can use a panel liner to bring out that detail and highlight it, bring it to attention. You've probably seen the Gundam markers I've talked about in the past.
Yeah.
They also have these. These are Gundam mechanical pencils. It's just like a mechanical pencil you would use in school or the office, but it's extra, extra fine. And this is a nice way to get, like, maybe if you don't like the really dark black panel lines,
Yeah.
to get like a really nice gray panel line. And
So some people will use gray like on a white kit.
some people might prefer to use gray. It's just a matter of your personal taste. But these are very easy to use.
That's so cool.
Like a little bit easier to use than the markers, really. And if you need refills of lead, we've got that here too. And like I said, it's not like the standard lead. This is super, super fine. It's like 0.03 millimeters. So very, very thin
Dude,
lines.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and these are $9 a pop for the pencils and $3 for extra lead. And like I said, one of these will go you a long way for adding extra detail to your model kits.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that's some of the things we have here at the arcade. There's lots of other tools and stuff we have. We have weathering pastels. We have Citadel paints for the Warhammer miniatures. We have paint brushes, Gundam markers,
Matte finishes.
matte finishes. That's the thing we've got a lot of is clear coats. We got clear coats in gloss, semi-gloss, flat. We have primers, everything. It's just back here in the case. You just got to go up front and ask for it so they can unlock it. But yeah, primers are really good for prepping your kits for paint. Gloss coats are really good for making your suits pop. And flat coats are really good for bringing down like the shiny plastic look and making it look more like a real robot. So yeah, some of the highlights of stuff we got.
Tools and supplies.
Yeah.
So what else you got? I see a couple other kits here.
Well, how are we?
We got about 20 minutes.
Okay, so I'll just talk about one.
Which one do you want to talk about?
I will talk about this guy.
So one of the newest kits we had at Flynn's. They are not. It's not here anymore.
We've got more of these on order.
Oh, there you go. Oh, perfect, Ben.
This is
It's great.
This is the GN0004 Gundam Virtue from Gundam 00. This is one of the newest master grades to come out from the show Gundam 00. I've talked about that show a couple different times, but it takes place in our timeline on Earth, but a few hundred years in the future. The Gundams, to summarize, are basically like a paramilitary group that come out of nowhere with the idea of they're going to eliminate all warfare on Earth. And they're going to do this with overwhelming technology and power, and anyone that starts any kind of fights, they're going to come in and put an end to it one way or the other. And just to give an example of like how much more powerful they are than like other mobile suits in the storyline, the Gundam Virtue on its own at one point is like fighting off 4 other suits, and without even like firing at them, it has enough power and thrust on its own to overpower the accumulated thrust of 4 other mobile suits. So just on its own, it's 4 times as strong, at least, than contemporary suits.
So it could like rip apart a suit on its own.
It's incredibly powerful, and something they all share is they use something called a GN drive, which is this little cone on the back. The GN drive is a near limitless power source that allows them to use beam weaponry. It allows them to create energy shields. It allows them to fly and hover nearly indefinitely. Like they basically defy the laws of physics. They can float around and fly at high speed.
Dude.
They don't need wings or anything, or jet engines or anything like that. And pretty much the only thing they're limited by is the pilot's endurance. The suit can operate nearly limitlessly. The Gundam Virtue in the story is piloted by Tieria Arde. Tieria is basically he's a manufactured human who's been designed for combat and to interface with a quantum computer.
Huh. Designed, so it's like built.
He was basically grown in a lab.
Oh, okay.
And he's like a human interface for this powerful computer system that is running.
So he's like AI, like Data. Not a cyborg, but
Well, he's not a cyborg. He's like organic, but he has like abilities to communicate with this quantum computer.
whoa, like a new type. Well, no, new type or psychic.
In more or less in the setting of the story, he's basically that story's version of a new type, so to speak.
Okay.
But he's really like a cold and callous and calculating character. Like he doesn't care about the lives he's putting at risk. All he cares about is accomplishing the mission and accomplishing the goals of Celestial being his organization at any cost. The Gundam Virtue itself, as you might be able to tell by looking at it, is the heavy bruiser unit of the team. In the primary story, there's only 4 Gundams. There's the Gundam Exia, the Dynamis, the Kyrios, and then the Virtue. The Virtues is designed for heavy assault firepower and armor. So out of all the Gundams in the show, this is the one with the most firepower. And I have it hooked up right now in what is called its burst mode. You can see this cannon is opened and extended, and it's also hooked directly into the chest. When it's hooked up like this in the show, and he's got all of his weapons ready, it'll fire a burst that can take out like multiple mobile suits in a single shot. The only disadvantage is he cannot do it repeatedly. He has to charge up for this shot. You can see here up the top, he's got these dual GN cannons as well. So it's not just this giant bazooka. It's also he's got cannons in his shoulders. And also he's got a GN field emitter on the lower legs here, as well as the top of the cannons. And that GN field will generate a shield around him that'll block any kind of projectile. So it'll knock shells out of the air. It'll stop beams. The only thing it cannot stop is a GN blade. So something like the Exia that's equipped with GN blade technology can pierce the shield. But yeah, the Virtue is known for its high firepower and everything like that. But what really makes this kit unique is it has a purging armor gimmick. In the show, there's a sequence where this suit is under attack by a bunch of mobile suits. They're trying to capture it because they want all this advanced technology. So there's like a dozen suits all attacking this guy at the same time. And they managed to get him all hooked up with these wires to try and like keep him from moving. They shoot a bunch of glue into the joints to keep it from moving, and they're just trying to knock the pilot out so they can get at the suit. It gets to the point where T-Area is cornered, and then the suit does a massive reveal where it's able to purge off all this armor and reveal another mobile suit beneath it. So all this armor starts to blow off in series, including these ones on the side, the armor on the legs.
Man, it actually comes apart really like seamlessly.
Oh yeah, comes off quite well.
Man, there is a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot. This is a lot of armor on this suit.
So when you built this kit, when you actually built it, how difficult was it to did they have it built in such a way that the exterior armor was its own separate, obviously runners, manual? How was it set up?
It's very well designed. You build it with the core first, and then you build all the armor after that. So I've only got a few more pieces here to remove, and then we'll get at the suit underneath. In the show, he does this in just a few seconds.
He's like, hold on, let me get undressed here.
Almost there.
And then once the suit, because they were going after, what was their main focus? Trying to get to the drive, the power source?
They were just trying to capture the suit. They don't even know really how they're powered.
They just want to get at it.
They just want to get at it, and they basically figure, okay, the suits are near impervious, so if we just wear out the pilot, we can get to the suit, and that's why they're just trying to capture it by hitting it with physical attacks up close to try and knock out the pilot.
Because the power source that's in this particular suit is basically...
It's basically infinite.
So there's no... You have to get to the pilot.
Yeah, that's the only way you can get at it. I've almost got it all off. Okay, all that's stripped off, and now there's one other thing that adds on to this. When all that gets stripped off, there's some energy cables that remain on the suit, on the head.
I always wondered what it was. It kind of looks like a beard, like a mustache.
Yeah, it's almost like hair.
That's really cool. So it's all the energy cables that connect
Connected
to the pieces,
armor,
to the
yeah.
armor. That is really interesting how they did that.
Hang on, let me get these all in there. Of course.
So
I'll get them.
you'll get them. But it's really cool. So obviously, master grade, a higher, a bigger kit, 1/100 scale.
Yeah.
Like once again, I keep reiterating that master grades are, in my opinion, no more complicated than a high grade. Just obviously a little more pieces. It's a bigger scale. I find it easier to work with. Like real grades are the vein of my existence.
Yeah, sometimes the bigger canvas is actually beneficial because it gives you more room to work on. I personally, most of my kits are master grade. That's the line I tend to collect the most of. And the master grades also have the most detail, in my opinion.
Yeah,
perfect grades obviously have more detail, but your options, if you like perfect grades,
Yeah,
are
and
a
the
lot
cost
more
is like
Okay.
one perfect grade is the cost of like 3 master grades, 4 master
And
grades.
once all that armor is purged off,
Should buy 'em.
his hands are still attached to the cannon, but you have now the Gundam Nodle. It's not the Virtue anymore, it's now its own mobile suit. Now it's GN005 Gundam Nodle. The Gundam Nodle, in terms of what its role is in the story, like the Virtue is the heavy armor unit, the Nodle is the judgment unit. So this is designed with the idea of hang on. If there was going to be any traitors in Celestial Being, this was the suit that was designed to stop those traitors. How it does that is it has access to a system called the trial system.
Whoa.
The trial system is hooked up to that quantum computer I mentioned
Right.
that all Celestial Being suits are hooked up to. And using that trial system, he has the ability to connect to any suit in Celestial Being and shut it down.
Whoa.
So at one point in the story, there's other Gundams running around that are operating outside of Celestial Being, and he attacks them by using the trial system, and he's able to just shut them down, and they all just drop to the ground. And then it basically commences its judgment.
But why would he? So basically, the pilot has. Okay, so these Gundam are running around. Are they opposition?
They're basically people that have co-opted and stolen the technology.
Okay, so it's their technology.
Yeah, people have stolen
People
it.
have stolen it.
And people are posing as members of Celestial Being. And the plan of Celestial Being goes back hundreds of years, and they basically accounted for every variable. They even accounted for traitors within their organization.
So they could instantly shut you down.
So they could instantly shut you down. And that's what the Gundam Nodle is for.
Man.
What's really neat about the Nodle is on its own, this is a really, really well-designed kit. Like you'd think with all that armor, these joints would be really like kind of overstressed. No, the joints are super, super tight. It's super posable on its own, even without all that armor. And it's a really, really nice looking kit. Like it looks, the change in design just by purging the armor makes it into such a unique looking kit because it's so like live and light. In terms of equipment, what it's able to do is it's able to use some of the weapons from its full mode. Like it has these GN cannons that were previously mounted on the shoulder. These can pop off, and there's a small handle that will fold out, and it can now hold these and use these as individual weapons. Later on in the show, the armor is not used because it's difficult to put it back on. It can also sortie with a standard shield.
And it just wants to keep falling.
It keeps on wanting to fall because my stand is spinning. It can sortie with the shield, 2 beam sabers, which are stored in the shins here, and a beam cannon as well. And the beam cannon also has the ability to generate a GN blade on the end of it as well. But a beautiful model kit. I personally prefer the Virtue with the armor on, but this is one of those cases where I might end up buying a second model kit just because I really want to display both versions of the suit, like on its own without the armor. I think it's a really nice looking suit. This is one I could also potentially see them doing a release of where it's just the Nodle. Like I could see them doing a separate release where it's just the Nodle and not the Virtue armor that comes with it. or maybe doing like a P-Bandai version of, there's a version of this from the manga, like a prototype of the Nodle, called the Gundam Plutone, which is basically this same suit with a few additional bits and pieces and equipment and everything like that.
Dang.
Yeah. But very cool kit. I love, personally, the heavy hitter suits. I've always been a fan of heavily armored mobile suits, so definitely worth checking out if you're into that. And the great thing is, too, is the original Exia Master Grade, I think, came out 10 years ago, and now we finally have the full team. You have the full 4 Gundams now in Master Grade form after all these years. It's great to have them. I'm hoping they go ahead and do some of the Season 2 suits now, too. But, yeah, the Gundam Virtue and the Gundam Nodle Master Grade kits.
So you get both of them in one kit.
You get both in one. If you want to display both at the same time, you're going to need to buy 2.
You're going to need 2. Unfortunately, we do not have any left here at Flynn's.
No, we do have more on order, though.
On order. So it's definitely, man. And how long, Ben? Like, I know you're pretty hardcore at building this stuff. So how long?
This took me longer because I actually went through and panel lined all this. I didn't do any decals. I basically did the panel line just because I'm crazy and I want to paint this, but I also wanted to see what it looked like with panel lining. All the 00 model kits have a lot of options on there for panel lining, and it looks really great with it. So I did this one in about 3 or 4 days, but the panel lining itself probably took like an extra day or 2 on its own, just because there's so much, and you're basically doing 2 suits worth of it. You're doing the armor, and then you're doing the Nodle underneath it.
And with the panel lining on this particular kit, what route did you choose to go? Just use a panel lining pen?
I went with panel lining pen and the panel lining ink, like the stuff in the jar that I had shown you before. I went and used a little bit of both. So,
how do you like using the jar stuff?
The jar stuff is good for smaller details, but the markers are good if you want to have more bold, like very thick, like almost animation style lines. So it's really up to your preference. This is one you could easily go either way with. I just thought it looked good to have the thicker, like animation style lines. That's just my personal preference.
No, it looks great. The panel lining, I'm a big believer that panel lining helps the kit pop even more, brings it a little something extra to it. And it's really not that difficult because the amount of pieces that you do have with this kit. I can see it being more complex. As opposed and taking a good amount of time with panel lining. And when you panel line, do you use, like, let's say you overshoot the line, right? And excuse me, you get onto the actual kit itself. What can you use just to rub it off?
There's a couple different things you can do. You can just use a standard white eraser, like a white gum eraser will remove it. If you want to get a little more into it, you can take a Q-tip with some rubbing alcohol.
Okay.
And that will remove it. But those are the best ways to do it, is like rubbing alcohol or standard gum eraser.
Yeah. See, guys, adding those little bits of accents here and there makes all the difference. Now, you can do whatever you're comfortable with. You want to panel line it, go for it. If you don't have to. But this is a phenomenal kit. And this is a new 2021 kit?
Late 2021, but I think it got delayed. Like most people didn't get it to the start of the year. But yeah, this is, I think, the newest one. I think there may be one more that's coming out, but I think this is pretty much the newest Master Grade as of right now.
And after seeing this production line come out from Bandai, what was the most, like, was there any things that, like, man, that's really cool that they did this, or any new advancements in the molding that you noticed?
I mean, it's pretty much what we expect from modern Master Grades, but just the how solid the kit is very impressive. Like I said, on its own, the Nodle is like, this is like on the level of most Master Grades in terms of how strong and fully featured it is. That's the other thing too. I like that they went the extra mile. It's not just the Virtue armor. It's also the shield and the rifle for the Nodle on its own, which is, it only used a couple times in the show, but it's nice that they included it. I like the gimmick with the hair and everything. They even include, like, there's an extra GN drive for, like, in the show, like the last scene is when they've all been defeated. He opens up the back of the suit and ejects the drive so other members of the team can recover it, even though the suit's been destroyed. They even include that extra drive so you can have the scene where he's ejecting it. So it's a very fully featured kit. Even like the little tiny pilot figures, like you see them include. There's one of T-Area, and then there's a portion of the show where he actually has to sneak into somewhere to spy on some people. but everyone will know who he is. So they disguise him as a woman. Because he's kind of like a smaller, kind of feminine, androgynous looking guy. So they disguise him as a woman, and like the pilot figure, they include the normal one in his suit and one of him in the dress. So it's a very nice little detail they throw in there.
That's really cool, like a little nod.
Just like a little nod to that one sequence where he had to sneak into this party in cross-dress.
So what if people do want to check out this particular Gundam series, what do they have to look for again?
This is Gundam 00. Specifically, this is the first season.
Okay.
It's available on DVD and everything like that. I'm not sure if it's streaming right now. It might be on Crunchyroll or Netflix, but I haven't checked in a while. But Gundam Info, like the official YouTube, is constantly putting up new shows and older stuff. They just kind of rotate it out every now and again. So if it isn't on there now, it probably will be again soon.
Cool. Anything else you want to say in closing on the Virtue?
Nothing in particular, but now I need to buy the Dynamis because I need to finish out my team. Dynamis is the only one I'm missing.
Is that on order at all?
It's on order, and I'll almost certainly be snagging it
when it does eventually make its appearance.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing with Gundam. When I was at this convention this past weekend, a lot of people talked about Gundam and asked about it and asked about the kits and stuff. And I do consider it a nice segue if you enjoy the building hobby, like let's say Legos or Erector sets or whatever. This can be an evolution to that.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, what kit? And I'm like, well, listen, you may not see this again for 3 to 5 years for a reproduction, a reprint. Mm-hmm. So if you like the design, pick it up.
Yeah, in general, it's like if you're totally unfamiliar with the setting and the show and everything like that, it's pretty much fine to pick up just whatever design speaks to you, especially if it's a newer kit. Mm-hmm. Anything within the past 10 years is going to be very high quality. But then again, like I said, this Dom kit is a 22-year-old kit. If you were to pick that up nowadays, it's just like, yeah, it's not maybe as fully featured as some modern ones, like maybe the build's a little bit simpler, like there's less parts, less detail. But this is a very robust, very stocky, very well-built model kit. And, some old things hold up very, very well. And it's just a matter of maybe you like this older retro design, and that was one that you really liked to look at. Maybe you like this very more angular, aggressive modern design. It's really just up to your personal aesthetic. They're both great kits.
Oh, I agree, 100%. This looks like comparable to a modern kit in its hardiness.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that I picked two suits to talk about that are both very heavy-duty, heavy assault mobile suits.
No, they're very beefy. We have a comment on there from Joseph. 00 Season 1 and 2 is on Crunchyroll, subbed.
Yeah, there you go. Personally, 00, I thought the best parts of it were in Season 1. If you're unfamiliar with Gundam 2, 00 is very easy to jump into. You don't need any prior knowledge of Gundam. It's in our modern setting. It's very inspired by modern geopolitics. Like it's all about, the oil crisis. It's about, trying to get people to adopt solar power. It's about, conflict in the Middle East and stuff like that. It's a very multicultural, diverse cast. Like the main character, eschewing the trope of Gundam, is not a Japanese young man. He's a Middle Eastern war orphan, and so a very interesting series. It was also very popular, so it's continuing to get model kits now, even 10 years after it originally aired. There's a second season. There's a movie. There's quite a few video games. Lots and lots of model kits. So yeah, 00, great place to start if you haven't seen Gundam before. And like I said, Season 1 specifically is probably some of the best Gundam that's ever been released. I love Season 1.
So guys, you heard it here. Go and check out Season 1 of 00. I think it'd be definitely worth your time and effort. So I think this is a good place to end it with two different kits from two different time periods, both solid builds.
Pretty much as far as you can get apart.
Exactly. That's quite a bit of time. And what's it called? And both master grades.
Yep.
And we went over some of the new tools that we have, new supplies you can pick up as well. And if you're looking to modify something, be it a model kit or even Warhammer, whatever it is, a lot of these are you can use a lot of the tools and a lot of the little accessories to make the kits or the builds or whatever you're working on.
There's a lot of crossover in terms of tools.
That's a perfect word, crossover. That's exactly what I'm looking at. We do have, I know we had people asking about new God hand tools, things of that nature. Ben did fill me in that we have some have been added, specifically like nippers and things of that nature.
Nippers are the things that people really want. because of the high quality premium ones. We do have a few left here in stock, but we do have more stuff coming in as well.
And guys, the next convention we'll be at is going to be at the Fort Lauderdale Con on March 27th. That's a Sunday, the last Sunday of the month. We will be bringing our Gundam stuff out with it. So if you aren't able to make it over to Margate for whatever reason, we will be in Fort Lauderdale on March 27th out there in that way, about 20 minutes from us here. So we got that going on. And in closing, once again, it hits you again. Gundam build contest submissions next Thursday, a week from this Thursday on the 24th. 1 and 144 scale kits. Bring them out. I'm excited to see what people come out with. Be prepared to just briefly speak about your kit if you'd like to do so. We'll have it proudly displayed here at Flynn's for the week, and then winners will be announced that following Thursday on the 31st. And a huge shout out to Gundam Place. Be sure to check them out online if you guys haven't reached out to them. Yes, shout out to Jamie over there at Gundam Place. Always a huge supporter of Flynn's and the Gundam community. Whenever I reach out to him, he's super supportive, and he just loves seeing the community grow, and that's what we like to see also. And we're super stoked to see it being introduced more and more to different conventions here in Southeast Florida and in Florida in general. So if you guys have any questions, by all means, hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, at Flynn's Gaming FL. You can communicate with Ben directly on our Discord or through his Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or Facebook at Uber's Cosplay.
Right.
That's pretty much it. Uber's Cosplay.
Discord is
UBERS.
the best place too to see what's coming in on the future orders and stuff like that. Because I'll post when the shipment should be arriving as well as what you guys can expect. But like Eddie says, first come, first serve. If it's something you want, don't wait, because shipments are still taking a long time because of the pandemic and the delays and everything like that. But even then, stuff moves very, very quickly. People have been chomping at the bit for model kits for weeks now.
Yeah, and I don't see it slowing down or stopping anytime soon, because once you get into this hobby, it can take your life over a little bit.
Like any vice, it's always powered by the addicts and addict right here.
Yeah, it's a plastic crack. So, but once again, guys, there's kits. We don't want to scare you off with these larger kits. There are kits ranging from $10 all the way up to $300 plus. A wide variety. And I find that each one is just as enjoyable as the other. Everyone has their positives and negatives. Their it's just different. Sometimes at conventions I'll try to build an entry grade kit because I know I'll have the time to do it.
Right.
And I'm not going to undertake. Even though I did see one guy at Anime EY build a master grade, sat there and just did it, and I was impressed.
I'm not gonna lie, I've done it before.
I know you have, especially with the. What was that one? The Fez? No.
The Faz, yeah.
Faz.
That was that's like, I still think in terms of part count, that's the biggest master grade there is. And I built that in like a day because I wanted the Faz so bad.
So.
Yeah, Faz is a great kit.
So anyways, guys, really appreciate you tuning in to our Let's Talk Gunpla with Ben. We're doing this once a month, the second Monday of every month. We'll do our best to do this. And hopefully we'll knock out another movie night or something like that. I know that everybody enjoys the movie nights. But before we head out, guys, just want to remind you that throughout the week we do a bunch of different things. Varun and Lucas and Nathan and Francisco and Omel and Christos are doing Dungeons and Dragons on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. here. We have multiple campaigns going on at the same time. You can jump in. It's open to each and every person. Tuesday nights, tomorrow, we have our fighting game casual night. Starting at around 6 p.m. We also have $10 Tuesdays in honor of Grand Prix Racerama that no longer exists, where the arcade and the video games and tabletop gaming is only just $10. Thursday, build and paint night. Friday is usually pretty chill. Saturday, Smash Ultimate. Sunday, Guilty Gear and King of Fighters. And then as the weeks go on, we have the next convention on the 27th. And then we have our cosplay Fan Fest episode 5 on April 30th. Which is very different because we're going to have karaoke and tattooing and cosplay contest, and Nate will be here. It's going to be a great time.
Nice.
So, yeah. Anyways. All right, guys. Anything else, Ben?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we really appreciate you tuning in. And until next time, we'll see you later, guys.
Take care, guys.
Later.